First off, I want to offer condolences to the Judd Heathcote family. You know, I really got to know Judd just a little bit throughout my time here, but when I came here as an assistant in '95, he was still the head basketball coach, and got to know him a little bit. And then over the course of time at some of the championship games that I was able to attend and tournaments and that type of thing. But I know that he had a tremendous impact on both Mark Hollis and Tom Izzo, and they talked about him often. And it was sort of a shock the day when I woke up today and I came in the office and had heard of his passing. So just wanted to offer support. Additionally, we've got two players from the Houston area. Coach Samuel is also from the Houston area. Got many former Spartans from that area of the country, and want to offer our thoughts and prayers to the people in Houston with the devastation that's going on there. And you know, there's, you know, on an occasion prior to this, you know, Darryl Stewart's family was flooded out at one other time. So I know that they're experiencing some things. Tyler Higby's family as well. So our thoughts and prayers are with them at this time as well. Opening day, a lot of excitement, a lot of optimism. You know, young football team. You could say that about a lot of teams right now across this country. But opening day always brings that out. I think it's exciting for all of us. We're very, very ready to go, I guess you'd say. It's been a long time coming. You know, we've sat and waited for about 9 months for this opportunity. So we'll be ready. Bowling Green comes in here. Mike Jinks is the head football coach there. Comes from Texas Tech. So they're going to have an up-tempo type of offense, throw the ball down the field. Sean Miller, number 21, is a go-to guy with about 800 or 900 yards of receiving yards. This past year, I think 74 catches, 900 plus. Josh Cleveland is a tailback that they'll focus with. They've got some other outstanding wide receivers as well. Their defense, you know, they're going to play a lot of different things. You know, from a front perspective, be multiple in the back end as well. They have an outstanding punter in Joseph Davidson, who is a Ray Guy Watch Award winner and averages over 45 yards per punt. So he is outstanding. And with that, I'll just take some questions. That's usually the best way to go here, and get ready to go.
Mark, you mentioned having a young team. When you look at Bowling Green's record, it is not indicative the way they played the last third of the season. They were a completely different team. For example, gave up 45 points, but the last 3 games of conference play only gave up 18. How do you just show film from the last third, or how do you address that? Because an older team, I get it, but a younger team.
Well, when you look at them as an entire team throughout the season, I think they got better as the season progressed. Lost some close games in the middle of the season, and then won some games at the end of the season, some close games along the way, and then also had a couple teams that they handled pretty easily. So I think you got a difference of certainly a different snapshot of their football team as you've gone through the season, but you know, they'll be ready. There's the second year as a staff there. So I think in the second year, you always have an opportunity to sort of realign yourself, re-critique yourself, and change some different things. But I think he has a belief in his players, and I think his players have a belief in what they're doing there. And you can see that they play hard, and they'll come here just like any other team from the Mid-American Conference, ready to show out. And so we'll look forward to that opportunity. We have the same opportunity as well. We're looking forward to it.
Mark, a couple quick depth chart questions. Demetrius Cooper listed. How much of that was the off-field stuff that he had, and how much of that was the performance of Dylan Alexander to take that other starting spot?
You know, it's all been performance-based. You know, we've gone slowly with Coop as we've gone through this, but it's been performance-based. I mean, he'll play. We anticipate him playing, and really, you know, when you look at the depth chart right now, it's a starting point for us. We've got some guys that obviously have played a lot of football for us that are solidified, and there's some other guys that are sort of in flux a little bit. Not that they're playing poorly or anything like that. It's just we have some good football players that have elevated their play. They're younger players, so the curve is more significant. They're able to improve more significantly in the last couple of years or the last year, and I think that shows.
And kind of as a follow, at cornerback, you have Josh Butler. I know that Tressel had talked about his growth. How much that was that, and how much that was maybe Josiah being nicked up from being held out of that scrimmage?
Josh Butler's had an outstanding summer camp. He was a highly recruited guy out of Dallas, Texas, and he's playing very, very well. He's been one of the guys that I think you point to in camp, say he's been solid. Pass breakups, interceptions, those type of things. He's tackling well. Josiah Scott had an outstanding spring. He did get nicked up a little bit. We held him out a little bit, but he's back full go now. But just in the last week or so, he's been back. So both of those guys are going to play. Who starts really probably define itself probably this week yet, because we still have practice this week. Probably today's a big day, but they're both good players. We expect them both to play.
No AJ or Curry on the depth chart. Is there a long-term injury issue with him, or do you expect him back?
We do expect him back. So I don't want to really speak out of turn. We do expect him back, but he has an injury problem, obviously. He's a good football player, but we'll see how it sort of handles itself throughout the season as we go.
Mark, it's been quite a while since you stood up there and said Brian Lewerke was your guy very early on. What have you seen from him in the last 6 months or so since then that has, I guess, built your faith in him or not?
Yeah, when you have an opportunity to play as a redshirt freshman and you start a couple games and you play pretty well and you have some moments in the game, I think that's a positive. And then the way he's handled that, he's just shown a lot of growth, I think, as a person. He's responded in terms of his leadership abilities, and then also on the field. He knows our offense. He's got a great arm. He's got a quick release. He can get out of problems. He's elusive, and he's calm under pressure. And I think all those things, have sort of allowed me to move forward with my statements on him as a quarterback. I think he has an outstanding future. I think, though, with that being said, I think we have some guys that can play at that position. They're Big Ten quarterbacks. They're big guys. They've got a good handle on the offense right now. I'm talking about Messiah DeWeaver, and obviously Damian Terry's played in games, and I thought his Penn State game may have been his best game this last time out. So he's got some ability as well. Rocky Lombardi has showed some things, but probably right now is a redshirt. But he's as far ahead as any redshirt freshman maybe we've had. Freshman being redshirted. So just depends on how the season goes. But like I said, our depth chart is it's a starting point for us. But I feel very secure and very confident in Lewerke right now.
Coach, I know that you touched on this in camp a little bit, but with everything that's happened in the off season, to be in a game week now is, I don't know what the right word is, if it's a relief or to just have a focus on a game. How excited are you for the kids in that regard?
We've got back to business throughout the summer. Our football team right now, I think, is energized. I think we're excited about this opportunity, sort of like my opening statement. There's really not much else to say other than our guys are ready to play a football game. We've been in 5 weeks of camp, or, school starts tomorrow, so that'll be a little bit of a bump in the road. But other than that, we came in July 31st, and we've been going at it. So I think they've paid their dues in terms of what we've tried to instill in them. Ready to go. Excited about the opportunity. See where we're at. We need a starting point. This will give us a starting point, one way or the other. But like I said, we got some players. We got players that can play anywhere in the country, and I'm feel very strong on that.
Mark, obviously you lose Michael Geiger, a guy who kicked for 4 years, a pretty important position. I see you got 2 guys listed right now. Is that something that's still going to kind of play out through this week, or do you want to have that figured out by the time you play Saturday?
Matt Coughlin has won the kicking position. He'll kick for us, and he's done a great job really all summer long. Did very well in the spring as well. He's a guy that we offered coming. He's a guy that we did not sign coming in last year, but promised him a scholarship at mid-year, delivered on that, and we brought in Cole Hahn to provide an added opportunities, added competition, but Coughlin's responded. Brent Scanlon, he'll be our kickoff guy, and he's been very positive as well. So feel good about both those guys and doing what they do, and we'll get ready to go. And both of them have had an opportunity to show out throughout the entire, and we've documented and tracked every single little item. So I think they're both ready to go, and they should be do an outstanding job. that's it. That's all we got. Oh, I knew it couldn't be that fast.
Mark, I know you talked about it being a starting point, but I think they counted 14 true freshmen on the depth chart and 6 in the 2 deep. I guess, what have some of those guys shown to get the trust in you guys to get them into the 2 deep or on that roster?
Well, really, it's how they've handled their business, really. I mean, they've come in here, they've come in earlier a little bit. We've had an opportunity to meet with them in the summer, which last year was the first year we had an opportunity to do that. So they're a little bit farther ahead. We've had 3 guys come in at mid-year. Hunter Risen, Josiah Scott, and Jack Camper. They're a little bit farther ahead. So I think they're ready to play. In this day and age, our guys are accelerating the process. Our coaches are. So we've got some guys. And I always look back, I said it this week, you always look back at some of the teams you've had in the past or some of the freshman classes you've had in the past and ask yourself, how would that guy stack up with our guys in those particular teams? And we have a very, very good freshman class. So, and you'll see the result of some of those guys playing, and you'll recognize that as time goes, whether it's this year, throughout this year, or early next year if we decide to hold a couple guys out. But we'll probably travel a lot of freshmen, and it's not really by necessity. It's by, they've really sort of won the positions a little bit. Also have some guys that are redshirt freshmen that didn't play last year that will have an opportunity to play, and it'll be exciting to watch them as well.
Brandon Randall listed at linebacker, went back and forth and stuff in the camp. I guess, is that a permanent thing, or will he still work at defensive end, and what has he shown during camp?
He'll work at either or, really, either or as we go, just depending on the depth chart and how he plays. But he's a very active football player. He's got a big upside. He can make plays for us. So again, guy, we're going to watch him. Everybody have an opportunity to watch him, but he can be special. He can be a special guy. But at this point in time, they're all sort of in flux. They're all in the mix.
Mark, the flip side of that freshman is you got 2 full-time starters on the depth chart that are seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Do you glance down at this, and does that give you pause?
I glanced down at it actually and say the future looks very, very bright. There's been this situation before. In 2010, our entire second unit of our defense in 2010 were true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. And you see the result of that a number of years later. So that's a positive thing in some ways. It's a negative thing. It depends on how you want to look at it. But as long as your freshmen are playing well, it's a very positive thing. And I think that's been the case in camp. Now, like I told them today, games are different. Games are a little bit, there's more pressure, there are people watching you. There's a little bit of a crowd out there, it's different. But they'll get used to that. It's still football, and they still just got to make plays on the field. So, and we've got enough, I think we have enough guys playing that have experience. We have pretty large junior class when you look at our football team. When you look at it, Kari Willis, Grayson Miller, they played a lot of football. You've got guys like that, and, I can't go through all of them, but got quite a few guys in our junior class that have played significantly. Andrew Dow, those type of guys.
Mark, Bowling Green, I guess for years had sort of run the up-tempo, no-huddle offense and had a lot of success with it. They kind of went through a transition year last year. Do you have sort of a sense of what to expect from them? I mean, are they a little bit more of an unknown commodity than you might normally see in an opener?
Well, they have an outstanding quarterback in Morgan, threw for about 2,000 yards. I think he had 16 touchdown passes maybe. He's a big guy, throws it well, he operates well in the system. And I think they have a system that's very well tied together, and like everything, predicated on getting the line of scrimmage and running a play quickly and getting you into a defense and looking at what you're doing and trying to orchestrate from there. But they're tied together well. They got guys that can make plays. So score against Ohio State, they obviously lost early in the season, but initially it was close. But they've got guys that can play, and they'll come in here with the opportunity to win, just like we have an opportunity to win. So, again, I don't really care who we played in the first game. It's good to have a first game. The timing's right. Our football team's right for it. The mentality of our football team is right, and that's what I'm concerned about. mostly what I'm concerned about is our football team.
Mark, you got 3 guys listed in starters at running back. Can you give them enough carries to get them into a rhythm and give them all a chance to show what they can do?
I don't know if we can do that. We try. I don't know if we can do that or not, but I think all those guys warrant being named a guy that can carry the load. So we'll see who does it. We'll see who gets the most touches. A lot of times it depends on how players are playing and what's going on the field. But I think they're all 3 very, very good players, and I think it would be unfair to say, okay, one guy's the starter and these 2 guys are backups. I consider them starters.
Mark, Friday night openers have been kind of the norm for most of your era here at Michigan State, so is it kind of weird to be deviating back to Saturday for the first time since 2010?
You know, I've never really looked at that. I've just said, hey, here's when we play the game. Let's get ready to play the game and let's go. You know, I don't look at it as, we're playing at night or whatever. But it is the case, as you said, but really hasn't had any effect, I don't think, on us.
Mark, looking at the expectations outside the program, they're much lower than they were maybe last year and maybe the few previous years. Have you guys tried to keep the guys away from that, or do you feel like you guys are flying below the radar a little bit this year?
You know, I asked our football team the other day, are we the hunted or are we going to be the hunter? Who are we? You know, this football team has yet to create, I guess, an impression because we're young. So our reputation, who are we? What is our reputation at this point in time? We had a tough year last year. We had very high expectations coming into last year, and we didn't deliver. But this is a new year. My expectations, as always, and I believe this last year, we could have won our last game. We could have beaten Ohio State. 2-point play at the end of the game or 2-minute drive. We're up against Penn State, and those are 2 top 10 teams. So we're not that far away. We're not as far away as some would believe. We're a lot closer. But you got to make plays on the field, and they got to be W's. That's just reality. But I feel good about our football team. I feel very good about the leadership on our football team right now and where we're going and the mindset of our guys. And that's all I can control. At some point, you got to make plays on the field, but you can control the direction you're going with the mindset and the energy, and our energy's right. And that's all I can concern myself with.
Mark, in the past, you've talked about sticking with the hot hand at running back. Last year, you went away from that a little bit, and I asked Gerald Holmes about that, and he said sometimes you can't get a hot hand till you get some consistent reps. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that? And last year, there was a little bit of a change. Can you talk about maybe your philosophy on that?
Well, my philosophy is if the guy's got yards and he's hot, we're going to run him. So you got your opportunities, you better make the best of them. I don't care if you get 3 or 12. You better have a good 3, and you better get in rhythm quick because I'm not waiting around. So they're all starters. Like I told them today, if you got a yard to go, I don't care if you have any blocking. You better get that yard. That's your job. So we'll get ready to go. We'll get ready to play. All of our guys have an opportunity. And I know they all believe in themselves, and I believe in all of them. But at some point in time, you ride the hot guy. That's what we did against Iowa in the last drive. That's what we did against Ohio State. That's what we did against some of the other teams that we've played in the past. So I don't think there's any question, though, that position needs to get touches. That position needs to get touches because that is a position of strength for us. So we got to find ways to get the ball to their tailbacks.
Mark, do you ever recall a time where your wide receiver depth was so freshman heavy once you get past the starters? We had so many young guys that were, have the opportunity to at least get in there for playing time.
I'm sure there was a time, but I'm trying to focus on the present. But I'm sure that we were young at one point. Probably in 2012, we were pretty young, as I remember back to that year. I think 2012, maybe Aaron Burbidge and McGarrett were freshmen, didn't play very much, and a bunch of those other guys were younger. I think Benny Fowler was the only senior we had. I don't even think he was a senior.
Kind of continuing a little bit on those lines with the punt returner job, what has Darryl done to win that over Brandon and Larice? And I guess what are the expectations of what you guys want from that this year? We track everything, and I think he's done a good job catching the ball. He's done a good job making decisions back there.
he's a guy that's going to walk in there and have game experience when he catches the ball. So there's a little bit of that as well. We lost Brandon Sowards for the season, so I guess everybody needs to know that. So with an ACL, a couple weeks ago, so he will be out. He will be missed. But I think Daryl has the opportunity to be a big-time football player here and make plays for us. He's a big physical guy that can run and catch, and he does a good job catching the football in the back end.